1. I just have to share this story. So when I just turned 16, I started training as a bookseller at a small bookstore, and this story happened a month after I started working there. At the time, everything was new for me, and I just learned how to use the cash register and where everything was at the store. One day, this middle-aged woman came to the store and asked for a specific book. I actually knew where the book should have been because I was the person who put it there. So I looked, and it wasn't there. I was unsure where else it could have been, so I looked it up in the system, and it said that we were out of stock. I live in Germany, and here a bookstore can order a book for the next day, so the customer can just pick it up the day after ordering it. I asked the woman if she wanted it ordered like this. She didn't because she needed the book for this day. After this, she was searching for another book she could buy instead, and I went back to do the things I did before she came in. Suddenly, it was just a few minutes later, she stood before me again. With the book, she was searching for it in her hands, and she was angry. She was like, "Look what I found!" And I, naive as I was, said, "Oh, I'm sorry. It must have been wrong in our system, but I'm happy that you found it." Maybe this was a mistake, but keep in mind that I was a socially awkward 16-year-old who really hated talking to people and who was nervous by interacting with other people. However, this was just the start. The woman kept going on with, "How is it possible that I know this store better than you do? You work here and I'm just a customer." I just asked, in return, where she found the book. She pointed to the biography section. The book was a thriller, so someone must have wrongly put it there. I mean, this happens a lot, especially with customers who just left things lying around. I apologized and explained that this was the wrong section, and that I couldn't have known the book would be there. But she didn't take that as an answer. She just started to complain even more and to insult me. She called me incompetent and dumb, and this is the best part. She said that if she were my boss, she would fire me. I was done. It took all my energy to keep myself from crying. My colleague, who could have helped me, was in the back of the store on the phone with another customer. He didn't hear this conversation. In the end, she took the book. After she paid, I was happy for her to leave. But she wasn't finished. This woman had the audacity to ask me if I could wrap it as a present, after she insulted me for literally 5 minutes straight. Today, I would deny it, but back then I was really scared of her, so I wrapped it for her. Like most bookstores, at least in Germany, we do a fold in the wrapping paper. I don't know why, but I think it's pretty. However, she looked at it, made a face and said, "That's ugly." And again, she started to complain how incompetent and useless I was. Then she finally stormed out, and I was standing there in shock, but this is when the nice thing happened. My colleague, who was finished on the phone, heard the end of what happened and asked me what was going on. I told him everything and started crying. This was when my boss came back from his break. He wanted to know what happened as well, and after we told him, he asked in which direction the woman went. I told him, and before running after her, he told me to go into the break room and take my time and eat some chocolate that was lying there. Sadly, he didn't find her, but he was really mad and said that I should tell him when I see her again. He wouldn't allow any customers to treat his employees like this. But I've never seen this hateful woman again. I just wanted to share this story because even though it's been 6 years since then, I still remember it like it was yesterday. And it's sad that every time I think back at my time at this bookstore, I remember this story. 2. I generally don't like to post about in real life things, but this one bothers me, and I'm hoping that by semi-anonymously complaining to strangers on the internet, I can get some form of catharsis for my frustration. It was a bad interaction, and it's possible I was even at least somewhat in the wrong. I don't know. So I work the night shift at a fuel station. Most of my customers are nice, and I get told about once a week that I'm the nice one by the customers. Usually a little intoxicated. This is fine. I can deal with people under the influence of something. I'm not fond of people who come in drunk or high, but I still try to be polite. I know at least intellectually that I should put in the effort to be polite. The problem is, I'm bad at social cues, really bad at them. I try, but more often than not, I am oblivious. I'm terrible at faces and names, a marker for autism apparently. and often forget people who do not leave a very strong impression fairly quickly. Well, today I had one of those. So it's the last hour of a full shift and I'm tired. I have a steady stream of customers coming through and I'm trying to check out each one. A lady approaches the counter and sets her stuff down to go get a couple more items. I mentioned to her that we do have baskets for her if she'd like to use them. As I do for many customers, they are not necessarily in an immediately obvious place. She pays, albeit a little slowly, and leaves. I didn't think anything of it. It's possible that I was a little curt. I wanted to move on to another customer. I had coffee to refill and deep breaths to take. As it happens, I had angered another customer by apparently being rude. I continued to help the self-replenishing line of customers for another 10 minutes of him staring at me. And he then steps up and sets his stuff on the counter. Now, he has hot food unopened and stuff in the bag. I begin to ring up the hot food, as it's fairly common for customers to decide they want some after they made their main purchase. This is when he tells me that no, he's returning this order because I was rude to the lady from before. Something we apparently don't do. I returned the stuff because he had never left the store and apologized because what else am I going to do? He was really quite rude and I'm baffled. I know I could have been in the wrong, but this guy was so offended at me possibly being a bit curt that he returns a $30 order and wastes a decent quarter of an hour. So I finished my shift and told the manager what had happened and why I had a return seat. I also accidentally gave him about $1.50 more than I was supposed to because I failed to adjust for a buy two discount, and people like that are the ones who call and complain again later. I'm just baffled and frustrated about it all, and I needed to rant. I know I might have been in the wrong. I tell people they need to tell me if I'm being an ass so I can apologize when I am, because I genuinely struggle with social cues, and I don't know when I'm skirting the line. I just wanted to rant because it's stuff like this that makes me wonder who else I might not have realized I was being rude or unkind to. 3. I can't blame my old district manager for quitting, as this company treats all the employees like crap. You get paid way less than our competitors for way more work. District managers are expected to drive up to 12 hours in one direction, one way, to visit a store. It's all for vacation and benefits, and you have to beg for a raise. I just wish the replacement wasn't Juliet, not her name, obviously, who was the Dolores Umbridge of North America. Let me just list off all the reasons I hate this bitch, and her shit-eating grin. 90% of Juliet's stay is spent in her office watching all the stores through the security cameras. When she catches somebody in a store doing something that she doesn't like, she calls and calls and calls and calls until you answer. Doesn't matter if she can see you're busy with a customer, or if you're vacuuming and don't hear the phone, or if you're literally puking your guts up in the back room because nobody could cover your shift. She will blow up your phone until you answer. Once you answer, you get berated for everything. You didn't greet her properly on the phone, berated. You're wearing something she doesn't like, even if your store manager approved it and it follows company dress code, berated. She can see a cell phone anywhere near a register, even if it's a customer's, berated. Even if you give her the context of a situation, she berates you and will find any possible reason under the sun that whatever she is upset about is your fault and your job is now on the line. Hell, she yelled at a sister store because 2 members of staff were trying to fix a computer issue. How dare they both be behind the counter at the same time, right? When you do need her for actual issues, you're playing the world's most difficult game of Where's Waldo. She never answers emails, no matter how urgent. If you call her, it goes straight to voicemail. She never answers. She won't even give the managers her cell phone number in case of emergencies. And when she took an unexpected week-long vacation 3 weeks into accepting her role, she sent an email to all the stores berating them for having the audacity of calling her when something went wrong in a store and they couldn't fix it. Her weekly staff meetings are early in the morning, like way before the stores open, 2 hours before in the case of one store. Managers are expected to be at the store on video and participating. If you don't participate enough, you get publicly berated. She only ever praises about 4 stores as well, even when other stores do objectively better. When my store was number 1 in our region and number 4 in the entire company for our massive annual event, she didn't even say congratulations. Nope. She spent the whole time praising a store who did slightly better than mediocre because her BFF is the manager of that store or something. I don't know all the details, I just know this BFF manager was handpicked by Juliet. Here's a list of other shit Juliet has done to piss me off. Head office held a company-wide store decorating competition, but didn't give the stores any money or budget for decorating. We, the store employees, have to provide everything ourselves. Except for Juliet's 4 BFF stores, she personally bought decorations for those stores and not others. I had to get a doctor's note just to be able to take care of my diabetes in the back room instead of in front of customers. I have diabetic-related foot issues, so I have to wear orthopedic shoes in order to feel like I'm not doing jumping jacks on razor blades. It took a prescription, a doctor's note, and my manager talking to her every day for a week before she got off my ass about not wearing heels. She berated us for not having enough mannequins on display. Meanwhile, we are using every mannequin we have. On a related note, Juliet gave our store crap for not displaying enough jewelry. Meanwhile, we sold out of almost all our necklaces. We had earrings, but our mannequins do not have ears. Wouldn't approve time off for my manager to go to a funeral. Juliet refused to send reports to my manager, only Juliet had access, for 3 months that were necessary to completing our annual reviews. Then berated my manager for not getting the reviews done. Juliet seems to have a vendetta against anyone under 30, so they get more flack from her than others. Managers who have under 30 employees get more flack too. I don't know why. Anyway, hopefully y'all understand why I want to quit. 4. For context, this story happens last summer. A tourist from Toronto, Ontario, comes to Cleveland, Ohio, and has never had Mr. Hero before. This was during dinner rush, with 13 customers waiting in line for service. I am there, after ordering my meal and waiting for food, texting with my mother. The out-of-towner clears her throat. Excuse me, sir, I've never had a Mr. Hero because we don't have any in Toronto. Can you suggest or recommend anything? I nod, always willing to help a new customer. The Roman burger is very good. It has 2 to 4 1/8 pound burger patties. Depending on the size, comes in 7 to 14-inch sandwiches. 1 piece of salami on each burger patty, Swiss or American cheese, 2 to 4 slices depending on size, lettuce, tomato, option based on preference, and onion, optional based on preference, and Italian dressing. I also recommend the loaded tater tots, which have cheddar cheese sauce, sour cream, ranch, and chopped fresh parsley. She smiles and offers me a $5 bill in thanks. Thank you, kind sir, you are most helpful. I will take your recommendation. Enter the entitled Karen, who heard me help the tourist. She looked at me, like I should be behind the counter. Cue the fact that all 4 employees were Indian immigrants to the United States, and I am as white as they come, and wearing nothing that looks like the Mr. Hero uniform. She has her hands on her hips. Excuse me, but if you're assisting a customer, should you not be on the clock and behind the counter? She interrupted me from bidding the out-of-towner that she did not need to pay me for my recommendation. Listen, lady, I don't work here. I was helping a customer that never had a Mr. Hero because she's from Canada. I do not work here. I'm wearing a Kevin Love jersey, blue jeans and a hoodie, representing my high school. I'm a local who is a customer, like you. The staff are wearing gray polos with the Mr. Hero logo on them, black hat, black dress pants. They are also very clearly Indian immigrants. The entitled woman then says to the manager at the counter, Ma'am, you need to tell this man to get back to work now. He was helping a customer. Clearly, he works here. You need to either tell him to get back to work or fire him now. I'm filling my drink while waiting for my order. I really don't work here. Mind you, I'm medically retired at 37 with severe depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and bipolar disorder. I am a customer just like you. By now, my anxiety and bipolar disorder are kicking in. I was helping a foreign tourist who never ate a Mr. Hero. She's looking furious now. You helped her. You can go behind the counter and help take orders. Mind you, there is only one register in this particular Mr. Hero, and the manager is running it. Get behind the counter now, you lazy ass! Now I have my order. You're a total bitch. Thanks to you, I'm pissed and my anxiety is in full swing. I am medically retired due to a mental disorder. Wave to the staff who I'm friends with. I apologize that you have to deal with her. She's going to make your night hell. Thank you. Have a great night. I walk out the door. The manager never had to say anything, despite being asked to speak to me. To engage in Karen's logic was beneath her. Plus, she could see I was holding my own. She ended up giving every customer 25% off their orders after me. Said Karen was never allowed in that Mr. Hero after she received her order. I found that out from my friend Raj, who was working the evening before, when I went to Mr. Hero for lunch the next day. 5. This happened about a year ago. I was 18 and so was my girlfriend, who worked at the same store as I did. Our store manager was a small, middle-aged lady who overall wasn't a bad manager, but she had one big problem. She was terrible at dealing with shoplifters. I don't know what the laws are in other countries and states, but where this took place, workers were not allowed to touch shoplifters or else they could sue our company. According to store policy, for safety reasons, we are not allowed to block or stand in the way of shoplifters. Our store manager regularly yelled at, confronted, harassed, and blocked shoplifters. She had gotten in trouble for it before, but she was good at her job, and we had no replacements. Now to the story. One morning, it was me, my girlfriend, and the store manager all working in the store. My girlfriend was working the front register. Managers are supposed to stay at the front, and I was in the back helping people if they needed something from our back room. At some point, I come out of the back room and find my manager arguing with some woman. They were carrying a large bag which appeared to be empty. This person was a regular shoplifter in the plaza my store was located. So my manager followed her all the way to the back of the store. The shoplifter was telling my manager to stop following her, and my manager was saying, "I'm just here in case you need anything." My manager was constantly about 5 to 10 feet away from her, just cleaning up shelves. This was nothing new, so I didn't think much of it. The shoplifter asked for some items from the back, which I brought out to her, because she hasn't done anything wrong yet. And I didn't know she was a regular shoplifter. I was still being nice and cordial with her, because that's just how I work. Afterwards, I convinced her to let me bring the items she asked for to the front for her. We do this to prevent shoplifting by placing the items behind the counter of the register and not bringing it back up until they pay for it. When I get to the front, I begin helping my girlfriend cut the line down and get on the other register. As my manager and the shoplifter approach the front, they are getting more and more aggressive with each other. The shoplifter had begun grabbing items off the shelves and stuffing them into her bag, saying, "Now I'll give you a reason to follow me." My manager is now berating her and slapping items out of her hands onto the floor. The shoplifter is now trying to leave out the front door, and my manager is blocking the door 2 feet in front of the shoplifter. She calls me to call the cops, so I do. This whole time, I'm trying to ignore what is happening and help other people at checkout, and my girlfriend is doing the same. At the same time as I'm trying to ring people up for their items, I'm on the phone with the cops, telling them the situation and the description of the shoplifter. At some point, I look over and the shoplifter had pulled a gun out of her bag and was now pointing it at my manager's head. As I relayed this new, more terrifying situation to the operator, my manager continued to stand her ground and mocked her gun, saying that the gun wasn't real and that she was doing a poor job of threatening her. The operator was asking about descriptions of the gun. It was a small pistol with a sight accessory on the top. The shoplifter then pointed the gun at the floor behind her and shot it, causing everyone to suddenly crouch down. I continued relaying this information to the operator. It was pretty loud, but not as loud as normal firearms, as there was little to no flash. So when she brought the gun back to point at my manager's head, she still didn't believe it was real and was still berating her and blocking her from leaving the store. A few seconds later, the shoplifter pushed past my manager and began running down the sidewalk. My manager followed her outside and continued to yell at her as she ran away. I explained to the operator the direction she ran, and they said they would be there soon. At this point, I would like to mention that my manager owns many firearms and regularly takes them to firing ranges. My manager walked back inside complaining about how the cops were still not here yet. She then said, "People who do that are so funny. Like, you don't think I can tell it's not real?" To which I pointed at the bullet casing laying on the ground. She picked it up and said, "Huh," and set it on the counter and walked to the office to pull up security camera of all this being caught on tape. Not long after, the cops arrived and said they had found someone hiding behind the building behind a dumpster. The cops gave my manager shit for not closing the store immediately, as people were still walking in and out. The cops took our statements and information, and I was in the police car around the back to verify they got the right person. They also found her bag and gun in nearby bushes. For some reason, I was calm throughout the whole thing, and still was afterwards, but my girlfriend was freaking out and shaking, which is fair. I was glad I was there to help calm her down and hold her. My manager was asking when we could open the store back up, and she was told minimum 2 hours. She wanted to open back up immediately. The cops explained to all of us to never block them or confront them, and to always assume it's real just in case. And just like that, we reopened 2 hours later, and my girlfriend and I worked the rest of our shifts like nothing happened. Except for the entire front of the store being covered in and smelling like gunpowder dust. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, episode 165. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do boop the like button and share the video around. Thank you kindly. Alrighty, let's see. Let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: if you could decide tomorrow, they come to you, it's your decision, you make this choice for everyone, that the world could have infinite amounts, completely free, of one item. It's not money or jewels or anything like that, anything that would give you immediate wealth, but what would it be? I'm going to say electricity. I think a basic amount of electricity should be free for everyone, everywhere in the world. We have so many ways of producing it now and inventing more new ones all the time. There's really no excuse for not having the prices more manageable than they are. So I figure everyone gets a basic allowance. It keeps your lights running, you can cook your food, whatever else. But if you go above that a month, you pay for it. I know some countries have something like this in place, or at least they used to. I don't know if they still do. But I think it should be universal. I look forward to hearing your ideas. Please leave them in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.